Dr. Stone is magical. And that's a really weird thing to say about a show with a premise focused entirely around science, I know. But despite this seemingly glaring issue, this anime manages to create a feeling of magical wonder in me every time I watch it. How? Well, it has a lot to do with perspective, but probably not the kind you're thinking of. If you haven't seen Dr. Stone yet, this is my recommendation. It's one of the best anime I've seen in a while, even though it might not have the insane action or epic battles of Hero Aka, Demon Slayer, or any other shonen. It manages to capture the same feeling of inspirational, hard-earned progression that's a staple of the genre. I plan on discussing some of my favorite scenes from the show here, but they're not too spoilery. If you haven't seen it yet and aren't completely sold, watch this video to the end. I think I'll make a pretty good case for it. If you have seen Dr. Stone, go ahead and drop a like to let me know you want me to make more anime videos in the future. So, what makes Dr. Stone the magical, awe-inspiring experience I described it as? Well, let's start by breaking down the premise. Sometime in the near future, a wave of mysterious green energy envelops the Earth, turning every single human to stone. More than 3,000 years later, Japanese high school student Senku Ishigami breaks free from his stone casing, now living in a world that has been taken over by nature. Senku isn't the kind of guy to take this lying down, though. He's a scientist. He vows to uncover the mystery of humanity's petrification, return everyone else on Earth back to normal, and lift this stone world out of the Stone Age, back into an age of internet, space travel, genetic engineering, and every other modern scientific miracle. And that is the premise. Senku spends his time traversing the wild, looking for resources, and doing his best to recreate a contemporary society. While this is a super cool plot for a series, I'm sure you're a bit hung up on my premise. What about this show is magical? Well, it takes the mundane and transforms it into something ethereal. As Senku slowly recreates the technology we've become so accustomed to, we're given a peek behind the curtain at just how much we really have advanced as members of the human race. Incredibly common occurrences like food, medicine, metal, or glass are all put into a new perspective when you watch this show. So let me give you some examples. The first, which is actually one of my favorite scenes in the whole show, happens as a consequence of Senku's plan to create an antibiotic. Having just acquired the manpower to recreate iron, Senku seizes the opportunity of a nearby thunderstorm to transform the iron rod into an electromagnet. What's so cool about this scene is all of the primitive villagers view the storm as the anger of the gods, an otherworldly wrath that man could never conquer. And if you've ever been in the heart of a real thunderstorm, you get the sentiment. The violent winds, the booming thunder shaking your core, the bright flashes of lightning illuminating the world that's been darkened by cloud cover. Thunderstorms are really only something we experience from a place of safety. We're normally inside, watching the lightning from our living room window, or worst case scenario, driving our car through a storm. But there was a time when the concept of indoors wasn't an option. The terror of a thunderstorm had to be faced head on. And yet Senku and company conquer this challenge, and they're rewarded with a magnet, mankind's domesticated form of electricity. Senku uses the magnet to build a giant generator, and after his pals Kinro and Ginro put in the legwork to charge it up, Senku can harness the very same energy that was so terrifying not too long ago. It's at this point we get my favorite scene in the show so far. Senku gets introspective, and he asks Chrome if he fears the night and the darkness that comes with it. He then reflects that there was no darkness in his time. Humanity had conquered our fear of the unknown by illuminating every crack and crevice. We defeated the night. He then connects the two wires to a filament made of bamboo, and we see the first light in thousands of years pierce through the blackness, symbolically shining across the entire globe. The music swells, but everyone around is completely silent, amazed at what they're witnessing. No one speaks, no one moves. Even the animals are completely still, enraptured by this display. Unlike anything they'd ever seen, the Edison light bulb has been recreated. I'm doing my best, but I can't really do this scene justice. It forces you to put into perspective the world we live in today and just how incredible it all really is. Something as simple as a light switch, the most basic thing we all have in every one of our homes, is incredible. We've captured the power of the gods, the lightning that shook the sky and ravaged the earth, and we used it to illuminate our streets, fill up our homes, and shine onto our books to help us read. And yet we take it for granted every second of every day. But okay, maybe this one example didn't make you feel anything. That's alright, I have 2 more examples. Well, the first was broad, all-encompassing, something that affects every person. These next 2 are a little more specific. As Senku and his friends are searching the river for a magnetic iron sand, they run into Suika, the adorable little girl who always wears the rind of a melon on her head. Suika is extremely cute and always well-meaning, but as we soon learn, there's a reason she keeps a fruit on her head at all times. She can barely see. As her people understand it, she has the fuzzy sickness, which is their limited understanding of what we know as being nearsighted. She claims that looking through the pinprick holes in the melon help her see a little better, and Senku recognizes this as her own way of replicating a lens. After collecting the right materials and finding a craftsman to form everything properly, Senku is able to recreate glass. He spends some time working with Suika to get the concavity just right before marching her out into a field of sunflowers. And this is another of my favorite scenes. Little Suika, who was always ridiculed for being strange and clumsy, couldn't help the fact that the whole world was blurry to her. But now, her melon helmet, equipped with freshly made concave lenses, she gets to see things as they truly are. The fuzzy edges of the sunflower field are made crisp and clean. The colors stop bleeding together and they form clear, definable shapes. And then we are treated to this heartwarming shot of Suika's eyes inside the helmet as she sheds a tear at just how beautiful everything is now. Again, the completely mundane is made into something wonderful, because that's what this show does. A total non-issue today, nearsightedness, was like a curse in the past. It would have completely inhibited your ability to work, to build, to play, to experience life to the fullest. But by creating the bifocals, humanity unlocked the full potential of so many of its members. People who had been unknowingly held back were saved from this visual deficiency, not only made more effective, but also made able to experience beauty better. Anyone who wears glasses has had their lives enriched because of it, and we never think about how amazing that is. There was a time not too long ago when special glasses were developed that allowed colorblind people to experience the entire visual spectrum. It was wonderful and emotional and a little bit life-changing for every person who tried it. But we never consider that regular glasses must have been the same way when they were first invented. Again, this show makes me appreciate our modern world just a little bit more. And my final example is one that, while not particularly impressive, had a pretty big impact on me. Asagiri Gen, the potential double agent who is also from Senku's time, is unconvinced that he should side with Senku against his more powerful enemies. While the stone world that they're in could offer him all of the fame, power, and women he desires, Gen still misses some of the luxuries of his time in the past. He asks Senku for one thing in particular: cola. He just wants a cold, refreshing soda pop. It isn't until several episodes later, after Senku has made some real progress on various other more impressive creations, that Gen stumbles upon a single bottle of cola, made fresh for him. Now this moment is really sweet, because Senku took the time to make a bottle and cap, even though he was rushing to finish some other very important projects at the time. What I like most about this scene is that it's enough. One cold, bubbly soda is enough to completely turn Asagiri Gen to the side of science. It seems like a dumb anime motivation at first, but when I stopped to think about it, it made a lot more sense. There are so many little pleasures that we take for granted that would be jaw-droppingly amazing in an earlier time. To be suddenly thrust into a future where your favorite foods, shows, music, and comforts are all gone, it would be really taxing on your psyche after a while. This scene really put into perspective for me how incredible the food we eat every day is. Maybe that Popeye's chicken sandwich really is worth a 4-hour wait in line. And maybe we should eat some simpler foods more often so we can better appreciate the insane flavors we have at our disposal every single day. Hot chocolate is great in the Christmas season, but it loses its luster if I drink a cup every single morning. And that's a thought I probably wouldn't have stumbled upon if I didn't watch Dr. Stone. This show doesn't beat you over the head with its message. It doesn't try to force you to empathize. A lot of anime will have a well-meaning message that's just too corny or too childish for me to get anything out of. But Dr. Stone is different, because it's just a little bit smarter than me. Yeah, some of the writing is really convoluted, and there are bits of anime logic that are pretty dumb. But it grants me a new perspective. It teaches me how intricate and ingenious everything around me actually is. This show may be fun and cool and endearing, but it also makes me appreciate modern life more. It legitimately makes me a little bit happier of a person, and any piece of media that can do that is really magical. I hope you like this video. It's a little different than the normal narrative analysis that I do. Anyway, be sure to drop a like, subscribe, and let me know down in those comments, what's one modern innovation you take for granted? Until next time, stay frosty.